War does not determine who is right. War determines who is left. What would you sacrifice to save yourself? What would you leave behind? Would you abandon the only home you ever knew? What would you do to give your children a better life? In Germany, 1795, according to GermanCulture.com, during the Rhineland occupation, France, following its typical policy of trying to keep Austria and Prussia apart while manipulating smaller German states, in observation of the Treaty of Versailles, Prussia and German forces north of the main river ceased attacks against the French. Austria endured many defeats at the hands of the French, even though they were aided by such German states as Bavaria, Baden, and Württemberg. To understand oneself, sometimes we must explore the past. From studying our history, we might learn more about ourselves. Let us take a page from the book of the Hoffman family. Walk with me as we learn how breaking free and joining a new world affects the Hoffman family, past, present, and future. Jacob Hoffman was born in Germany in 1798. Germany then is much different than Germany now. Due to the state of relations and confrontations in those years, militarism was much in demand. Militarism is defined as a strong military spirit, the principle of maintaining a large military establishment, as well as the tendency to regard military efficiency as the supreme ideal of the state. This meant, as a young man in Germany, you are required to join the army. Jacob and Sibylla worried about the fate of their growing sons, while sadly watching others lose their sons to the service. Jacob, who was born in Bavaria, with his wife, Sibylle, lived in Metterhusetet with their children, Valentine, John, Peter, William, Jacob Jr., Louis, and daughter Lizzie. As Valentine quickly reached manhood, the family decided that changes need to be made, and they sacrificed everything in search of a new home. When Valentine turned 20, he crossed the Rhine River into France and found his way to Le Havre, where he stowed away on an American ship. When the boat was many distance from the shore, he made his presence known and acquired a position on the ship. Soon after Valentine left, Jacob and Sibylla knew it was time to make their way to America too. Valentine had successfully arrived in America and made plans for his family to join him. On their way, Peter was captured. Fortunately, he made his escape to France in time to join the family on the ship Cheshire. The stormy 36-day journey ended in New York in 1848. After changing their whole lives for new beginnings, what does this new country bring? Even though Valentine had fled his home country to escape forcible army service, he arrived in America during the Mexican War and felt led to join the Americans there. For roughly 2 years, Jacob and Sibylla and their children lived in Germantown near Philadelphia. It was there that Jacob worked for the post office. Prior to this, as new immigrated Americans, they had no surname. The post office officials spoke with Jacob about this and asked for suggestions. He mentioned that the children on his route called him the Hoof Man because he walked his entire route. Hoof Man led to what is now known as Hoffman. After changing their whole lives for new beginnings, what does this new country bring? The family, in search of Valentine, who was living in Indianapolis as a boilermaker and lumberman. The family settled in 1000 South Noble Street. After some time, though, Jacob became interested in farming and decided to go out west to Nebraska. During the Civil War, Jacob William Lewis and Jacob Jr. served in the Army. Peter, for reasons unknown, had no teeth and was unable to serve in the military due to the need of your teeth to load the guns at that time. William, Peter, and Lewis settled in Tipton County near Sharpsville and eventually purchased farms there as well. John, however, settled in Philadelphia, and Valentine, interested in real work, lived his entire life in Indianapolis and is buried in Crown Cemetery. Today's descendants of Jacob and Sibylla Hoffman are living in various parts of the United States. From 1909 to 1959, they held annual reunions, and many still meet all over the country today. From immigrants to America, the Hoffman family shapes the world in the next generations live in. From past to present, Jacob Sr. to Destiny, a Hoffman family heir. Jacob, who was born in Germany in 1795. Jacob Jr., also born in Germany in 1836. Born to Jacob Jr. was James Alfred, who was born the first United States citizen in Tipton County in 1860. He married Gertie, and from that union they had Pansy Thea, who was born in 1912. Pansy had a daughter named Dolores, who was born in 1929. Dolores had a daughter named Rhonda, born in 1951. And finally, my birth in 1976. I am the sixth generation of Americans from the Hoffman family. When exploring the past, we learn many things about our history, but we also can learn many things about ourselves. Take a moment and reflect on these statements with me. What would you do to save yourself? What would you do to give your family a better life?